Go.
Hello, my name is Julianna, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about the topic, the importance of education and maintaining historical awareness. First, here are my citations, and this consists of everything I'm going to be going over today in my presentation. So first, let's start with a bit of an introduction. This is a quote from a famous philosopher named George Santayana, and it reads, "Those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it." So now, let's go over our main concern from this topic. Our main concern is that the US government is attempting to filter what is being taught in school systems, and this issue is most specifically evident in history classes. So not only can this issue lead to historical knowledge being lost, but it can also lead to distorted history and even history being manipulated. So these factors as a whole are going to lead to the societal collective memory being greatly weakened. So now let's go over our first topic, which has to do with oral history in regards to Maori culture. So according to Maori Oral Narratives by Judith Binney in 2004, the life of an oral narrative may be longer, generations, but all its verifying details, its participants, and even its central mythic cell may have been altered. Now, while oral history, which is passed down through generations, allows for the preservation of cultural knowledge, genealogies, and historical events, it may not always be completely accurate. So now we're going to talk about written history and its regard to Maori culture. Oral history is a great way to keep ancient ideas alive, and it results in the actual history being greatly distorted. So instead of relying on memories, European written histories dominated in the 20th century. When European settlers began recording Maori history in writing, these written accounts allowed for the history to be combined with scientific methods, such as carbon dating, now allowing for accurate reports of Maori culture. So as a whole, written history is essential in preserving, verifying, and transmitting accurate accounts of the past. So now we're going to talk about a bit of a different topic, which is music and its role in historical education. While most history is told orally and through written events, in this case, history is told through the power of music. Music is a universal language that has the ability to connect people all over the world, but it is also important in regard to history. You may have heard of the famous singer Selena Quintanilla. You may have also heard of her unfortunate death in 1995, but if you have heard of her, that is a perfect example of music portraying history. Selena's music is not only still widely famous and listened to this day, but she also has a museum in her honor. Both of these factors serve as a way for people to remember and cherish her. So history in various forms shapes cultural memory and identity. So now we're going to go in depth on our issue a little bit more. As mentioned before, the government is trying to filter what is being taught in schools, most specifically in history class. But here are some of the flaws in following this plan. First, the preservation of many cultures is significantly going to be forgotten. And an uneducated society is going to be doomed to repeat the past. And on top of all that, through the filtering process, actual history is going to be greatly manipulated. And all of these factors are a complete recipe for disaster. But students aren't the only ones threatened by this issue. Teachers are also affected. Teachers are losing their jobs and ruining their careers due to these new laws being passed in almost all of the states. According to Stevens in 2023, these bans are purposely broad and vague, which means that teachers are walking a tightrope every time they stand at the front of their classrooms. And some people are gonna argue that historical education may be biased or filtered anyways, depending on who controls the curriculum. And they're absolutely right. Everyone is going to have their own personal opinions, especially regarding history class, which has to do with a lot of things like politics. But for the greater good, we as a society have to look past this issue. We have to put our trust in our educators to not let their personal opinions get in the way of their teaching. These factors will also ensure that students receive a fair and a balanced education all over the world. So now to wrap it up, we're going to talk about education's importance as a whole. Education is the very foundation of factors such as collective memory, the preservation of culture, and most importantly, the assurance of historical accuracy. All of these factors mentioned here and early in the presentation are essential in ensuring that history is accurately preserved and understood. All accounts of education provide critical thinking, structured learning, diverse perspectives, and more. My key takeaways from this presentation is that history is not only our past, it's not only our present, but most importantly, it's our future. And education in any form is essential in assuring a positive future for not only our generation, but also all future generations to come. I would like to formally thank you for listening and taking an interest in my presentation today. I hope that your eyes have been opened to this issue, and I hope that you have developed a new view on how important education is, not just for students, but for everyone. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I truly hope you enjoyed it. And lastly, these are my citations that include my stimuli sources. Thank you so much.